The village decreed that a woman's education ended at the kitchen's threshold. Her destiny intertwined with pots and pans rather than pens and papers. Once upon a time, in the heart of a village where tradition reigned with an iron fist, there lived a young girl whose fate seemed sealed by the archaic custom that had long dictated the lives of women. Her name was Annie, and at the tender age of 15, just a year since her womanhood had blossomed, she was marked as a commodity in the eyes of her community. She was to follow in the footsteps of her 2 sisters and 14 stepsisters, all of whom had been bartered like provisions in the marketplace, exchanged for deals that favors everyone but themselves. Yet, Annie was different. She harbored a defiance that set her apart, a plan shimmering within her, threatening to disrupt the expected course of her life. Annie's boldness was a legacy from her father, a man of unyielding courage, while her beauty was a gift from her grandmother, a woman revered for her grace. From her mother, Annie took nothing. Their relationship was strained, marred by contempt and misunderstanding. Her mother often branded her as stubborn and useless, far from the compliant daughter she desired. Yet, Annie's spirit remained unbroken, her resolve only strengthened by each scathing word. "Why? Because I refuse to be like you?" she would retort, her voice laced with sadness and determination. Annie's interest lay far from the domestic chores her mother deemed essential. She found solace in the forbidden fruit of knowledge, devouring pages of books she acquired through clandestine deals with her eldest brother. In exchange for completing his assignment, he provided her with a window to a world beyond her confines, one where intellect and curiosity were celebrated virtues. The village decreed that a woman's education ended at the kitchen's threshold. Her destiny intertwined with pots and pans rather than pens and papers. But Annie's taste for learning was insatiable. She sought wisdom with herbal medicine, absorbing teaching from Ngoyo Egbe, the eldest woman in the village, a storied healer and guardian of ancient law. "Don't worry, a husband will cure you," her mother would say dismissively whenever she caught Annie engrossed in books or when her attention drifted from lessons on pleasing a man. The irony was not lost on Annie, who knew all too well that marriage had not been the panacea her mother claimed to be. "Did yours cure you?" Annie would shoot back, her words as sharp as the slippers her mother hurled in futile attempted to discipline her fleet-footed daughter. Indeed, Annie's agility was unmatched. She was the swiftest in the entire community, a trait that would soon prove to be her greatest ally. One fateful morning, Annie's father summoned her and her brother for a family meeting, a gathering from which her mother was conspicuously excluded. Yet, the triumphant grin on her mother's face as she prepared the meal for the assembly spoke volumes. It was rare for her to show such pleasure unless something ominous loomed on the horizon. "Annie," her father began, his voice heavy with expectation. "You have seen your womanhood now, so it's time to contribute to the well-being and welfare of our family." Her stepbrother echoed this sentiment, reminding her of their need to pay fees and renew apprenticeships. It was now upon Annie to support the family that had nurtured her to this point of maturity. Her brothers lacked academic prowess and had failed their examinations repeatedly. Despite this, their father persisted in their education, blind to their talents lying elsewhere. As Annie listened, her mother's smile loomed in this periphery, a silent spectator to the proceedings. "Okay, Papa, I will do as you say," Annie hid herself replying, her voice foreign to her ears. Her acquiescence surprised him. He had likely braced for resistance, but Annie would not grant them the satisfaction of seeing her spirit broken. She had always been an outlier in their family, as stubborn and indomitable as a goat. "Good," he said with relief. "Your woman would have brought you wisdom. Prepare yourself. Your husband will come in 3 days. Your dowry has already been paid in full." With those words, he sealed Annie's fate as if it were nothing more than a business transaction. The meals that followed was consumed in oppressive silence. Each bite tasted of resignation and despair. "You are all dismissed," proclaimed Annie's father at its conclusion, his final words echoing like a death knell for Annie's childhood. Annie possessed physical beauty that drew unwanted attention, curves that spoke of womanhood full-blown. Yet she despised how eyes lingered on her body as if it detected her worth. She had a plan. Annie could not allow herself to be weighed to Chief Akpan, a man whose reputation for cruelty matched his wealth. He was an abuser and womanizer who had taken 8 wives. 5 had succumbed to his relentless brutality. In their village, a woman's voice was unheard unless it came through a son, and even then, it was but a whisper against male dominance. Chief Akpan's wives were little more than slaves, laboring on his farm from dawn until dusk, their spirit crushed under his tyrannical rule. Annie overheard her stepmother pleading with Annie's mother to dissuade Annie's father from this union, but those pleas fell on deaf ears. Her mother's indifference served as a cold reminder to her Annie was merely another daughter to be sold off, another burden lifted. Desperation clawed at Annie's heart as she contemplated escape, but the village isolation seemed an insurmountable gauge. Wandering through the bush, not in search of herbs for Nkoyo Ekpe as usual, Annie's tears flowed freely under the weight of impending doom. "Why are you crying, my dear child?" The voice startled Annie. She turned to find Nkoyo Ekpe behind her, concern etched upon her withered face. Nkoyo Ekpe should not have been alone in the bush. She could have sent someone for help if needed. Annie hastily wiped away tears. feigning a call to mark sorrow. "Poor child," Ngoyo Ekpe said gently yet emphatically. "I know how painful it is to be married against your will." Stunned, Ani met Ngoyo Ekpe's gasp, a tumult of questions swirling within. How? How did you know? Don't you want to escape? To achieve your dreams? Ngoyo Ekpe asked with a tremulous smile. She knew of Ani's compassion for education, her dream of becoming a doctor who healed without thought of compensation. Ani nodded frantically, a silent plea for help. Ngoyo Ekpe reached out, her hand nailed but steady with purpose. "Come with me," she urged. "It is time for your true journey to begin." In Ngoyo Ekpe's heart, a mishap sent an ancient wisdom. Ani listened as plan unfolded that would change everything. It was dangerous and uncertain, but it offered freedom from a chance to forge destiny, where what wasn't detected by anybody but by mind, courage, and spirit unyielding against tradition's shackles.